Since ancient times, India maintained both political and cultural relations with Western world. But foreign impact was more on India during the modern period of time with the arrival of Europeans into India, beginning with Portuguese in the 15th century AD, followed by the Dutch, English, that is British, Danes, and France in the last came to India for trade. They came to India with intentions of trade and commerce, but ended fulfilling with their ambitions of political domination over India. Of all the European countries, English emerged successfully by defeating both their Europeans and Indian counterparts. Coming to the point of the introduction of the advent of Europeans to India, India has trade relation with the European countries since from the long period, even during the time of the Indus Valley Civilization period. During the Indus Valley Civilization period, India had trade relation with Egypt civilization, Mesopotamia civilization, and also Greek civilizations. That was the starting of trade and commerce with the Western world. Latter period, Aryans, they came to India from West and they settled in India. During the post-Mauryan period, Holy Roman Empire, it was ruling in the western side. That was Satavahana's period. Romans, they continued trade with Indians. Indo-Greeks, Sekas, Parthians, all these were the contemporaries of Satavahanas, established their kingdoms. They came to India from west and they established kingdoms in the northwestern frontier provinces of India. They were called as Yavanas. By the 3rd century AD, ended Holy Roman Empire in the west. Then the trade of India towards the west started to decline. During the time of the Gupta's period, Indian trade turned into the Southeast Asian trade. Instead of the Western trade, they converted into the Southeast Asian trade, like Burma, Indonesia, Laos, like different countries. By 700 AD, Arabs, they invaded India. 712 AD, Arabs, they occupied Sindh in India. Then Arabs, they did not concentrate on the political power. They maintained more on the trade and commerce with the Western countries. This Arab trade was continued from 700 to 1453, this period. So coming to the point of the items which were going from India to the foreign trade, that is especially luxurious items. The more luxurious items, cloth and perfumes and spices. These were important items for exporting from Asian countries to the European countries. To export from Asian countries to the European countries, cloth, Indian cloth, muslin cloth, that is what called as Indian muslin cloth, which is preparing from the Machilipatnam, that is called as Yavanika, that is Indian cotton, very transparent. We have a saying called the sari which is manufacturing in Machilipatnam can be folded in the matchbox. Next to spices, in the spices, black pepper. Black pepper is called as Yavana Priya. Yavanas means Europeans of that period, foreigners of that period. Europeans, they need spices for the food preservation and tasting. Europeans, they purchased black pepper by paying the same amount, same weight of the gold. This was explained by the Pliny the Elder in his book, The Natural History. Pliny the Elder, he wrote the natural history in this book. He said the drain of gold from Rome to India. By this time, there were three types of the routes which were continuing from India to the European countries. There were three types of the routes. Coming to these three types of the route, one is called as Silk Route. One is called as Silk Route. That is the topmost route via China. This route is called as Silk Route. The another route is called as Persian Gulf Route. This route is called as Persian Gulf Route. This is a Persian Gulf route from India to the European countries. And another route was Erythraean Sea, via Erythraean Sea, this route. Here, there is a Suez Canal, was not opened by that time. Suez Canal opened in 1869. Before 1869, that was blocked. That was blocked. This is there here above the Egypt, Suez Canal. Suez Canal did not open that by that time. It is connection between the Mediterranean Sea and the Erythraean Sea. Erythraean Sea is also called as Red Sea. All this trade would meet at Constantinople. The trade would meet at Constantinople, which is presenting in the Europe. Constantinople was constructed by the Constantine. Constantine X constructed Constantinople, that is there in the Europe. Immediately after reaching to the Constantinople, then it will come to the Spain and Italy. Spain and Italy. So by this period, 1453, Ottoman Turkish Sultan, he occupied Constantinople. Ottoman Turkish Sultan, he occupied Constantinople. Whenever he occupied Constantinople, Muhammad IV, he occupied Constantinople, then he blocked the land route between Asian countries and the European countries. He blocked the land route between the Asian countries and the European countries, Ottoman Turkish Sultan. In 1453, he blocked the land route between the Asian countries and European countries. Then there occurred scarcity of the spices in the Europe. Then there was only one route was going to the European countries, that is via Erythraean Sea route, Mediterranean Sea route. Mediterranean Sea trade was continuing. That was very small trade. It was dominated by the Spain and Italy. Portuguese were not allowed. Portuguese looks like inserting into the Spain. That's why Portugal was the first country started to discover sea route to India. Portugal king, Henry, he was a good sailor. That's why he was called as Henry the Navigator. Portuguese ruler Henry the Navigator, he started a naval college at Lisbon in the Portugal. At Lisbon in the Portugal. He invited all the sailors from all the sides of the world. Henry Navigator established a naval college and trained up the sailors. Sailors, they started to discover sea route from here. The first person was Bartholomew Diaz. Bartholomew Diaz. He started in 1487 to discover sea route to India. According to the opinion of the Europeans, if they moved towards south from the western coastal area of the African continent. Somewhere they would touch India. That was the opinion of Europeans of that period. According to their knowledge, India was in the south. By this time, China invented compass. They used compass also for the direction, showing the direction. Bartholomew Diaz, he started to discover sea route to India. Whenever he reached to the edge of the ending point of the African continent, they wanted to round the African continent. Whenever he reached the ending point of the African continent, it was meeting point of two great oceans, Indian Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. Indian Ocean in the shape of the M, Atlantic Ocean in the shape of the S. It was the meeting point of two great oceans. There occurred very, very high, huge storms. There occurred storms here. He was afraid of that storms. And he kept that name as the Cape of Storms, ending of the African continent called as Cape of Storms. And he returned from the Cape of Storms to the Portugal. Then after that, 1492, Christopher Columbus, he started to discover sea route to India. And he also choose the same route, and whenever he reached there, Cape of Storms, he wanted to move forward. Instead of the moving forward, he went to the Bahamas Islands. He reached to the Bahamas Islands. And he claimed that he discovered India. These people were called as Red Indians by the Christopher Columbus. Latter period, everybody known that he discovered a new world, that is America. America was discovered by Christopher Columbus. But America name coined on the name of the Amerigo Vespucci, who wrote a book on the two continents. On the name of the Amerigo Vespucci, this is called as Northern America and Southern America, America. After the Christopher Columbus, after the death of the Henry the Navigator, James II, he became king of the Portuguese. He called that area as Cape of Good Hopes. Cape of Good Hopes. Instead of the Cape of Storms, he kept the name as Cape of Good Hopes. There is a good hope from there. And James II, he sent Vasco da Gama to discover sea route to India. In 1498, Vasco da Gama started the same route and he reached to the Cape of Good Hopes. He stayed there. And they captured the group of the Vasco da Gama. They captured Al-Mazudi, a Arab trader, was a captive of the Portuguese. Al-Mazudi did not reveal the route, but finally they started a third-degree treatment towards the Al-Mazudi. Al-Mazudi, he revealed the route, how to escape from the Cape of Storms. Then after the escaping of the Cape of Storms, Al-Mazud was thrown into the ocean, Indian Ocean, and Vasco da Gama group, they reached to the Madagascar. Then from the Madagascar to the Calicut. In 1498, May 17th, in the year 1498, May 17th, Vasco da Gama reached to the Calicut. Vasco da Gama reached to the Calicut. By this time, the Calicut ruler was King Jamurin. King Jamurin. Originally, he was called as Raja Martandavarma. His original name was Raja Martandavarma. But he was called as Jamurin. Because because he was called as a Jamorin. Jamorin, it came on the name of the Samudri, head of the Lord of Ocean. Samudri, Jamudri, and Jamorin. These names are same according to the historians. So after that, Vasco da Gama, he reached to the India. And 1500, Vasco da Gama, he returned from India to the Europe, Portuguese, with 60 times of his expenses, with the cargo of the 60 times of his expenses, he returned from India to the European countries, that is Portuguese. Whatever he collected from India, he got 60 times of his expenses. Then Europeans, they realized that if they go to India, they can earn more and more wealth. Finally, in 1502, again Portuguese, they reached to India. Portuguese, second time they came to India. They started first trade center at Calicut, then next trade center at Cochin. In the Cochin, they constructed Gama Fort on the name of Vasco da Gama. Gama Fort, Cochin was the first headquarters of the Portuguese in India. They constructed Gama Fort at Cochin. Fort, why they construct fort? The construction of the fort is necessary to protect trade and commerce. It was the protection of the trade and the traders of the colony. They would establish, wherever they started the trade and commerce, European countries, they would establish colonies for the, what is that, protection of the colonies. They would construct a fort and they would appoint a governor for the fort. Like that, they started a fortification in different places. The first governor of the Portuguese in 1503, he was de Almeida. De Almeida was the first governor of the Portuguese. De Almeida introduced blue water policy. That means development of the waterway, development of the naval force. He concentrated more on the naval force. Latter period in 1509, Alfonso de Albuquerque, he became governor of the Portuguese from 1502 to 1515. During his period, he encouraged internal marriages, intercaste marriages, and he encouraged to marry Indian wives by the Portuguese. He made alliances with the Vijayanagara kings. With the help of the Vijayanagara kings in 1510, Alfonso de Albuquerque, he occupied Goa from the Bijapur Sultans. He occupied Goa from the Bijapur Sultans. Alfonso de Albuquerque. After the Alfonso de Albuquerque, the next important person, Francis Xavier came to India. Francis Xavier, he came to India, and he was alone. He alone converted nearly 7 lakhs Indian fishermen into the Christianity. That's why Francis Xavier, after the death of the Francis Xavier, his mummy preserved at church in the Goa. He preserved at Goa church. His mummy preserved in the Goa church. Still it is going on. 1530, Nuno Cunha. He shifted capital from Cochin to Goa. Nuno Cunha, he shifted capital from Cochin to Goa. Goa continued as the capital of the Portuguese from 1530 to 1961 because Portuguese were the first Europeans came to India, and Portuguese were also last Europeans who left India. Coming to the point of the Portuguese settlements in India, they concentrated more on the western coast like Calicut, Cochin, Kannur, Calicut, Cochin, Kannur, Quilon, Mangalore. Like they concentrated more on the Western India. Portuguese domination continued in India for nearly 1 century. 1 century it continued, the Portuguese power. They also maintained trade relations with, friendly relations with the Vijayanagara kingdoms. But slowly after the 1 century, in the 17th century AD, started the decline of Portuguese power in India. There are main causes for the decline of Portuguese power in India. One is Battle of Talikota. Battle of Talikota, 1565 Battle of Talikota occurred between Vijayanagara kingdom and also Deccan Sultans. Deccan Sultans, there were 4 Deccan Sultans participated in this war. That is Ahmednagar rulers, Ahmednagar, Nizam Sahis of Ahmednagar, Adil Sahis of Bijapur, and Qutub Shahis of Golconda, Barid Sahis of Bidar. All these 4 Deccan Sultans waged war with Vijayanagara kingdom at the Battle of Talikota, that is also called as Battle of Banihatti, also called as Battle of Rakshas Tangedi. In this battlefield, Vijayanagara kingdom fell flee in the hands of Deccan Sultans. Vijayanagara kingdom was completely defeated by the Deccan Sultans. By this ended the Vijayanagara kingdom and also ended the friendship of support of Portuguese in India. That was one thing. Another thing, Portuguese, by this time, Brazil discovered. Portuguese, they concentrated towards the Brazil than India. And in the year 1613, Portuguese was defeated by the British at Gujarat, the Battle of Bombay. The Battle of Bombay, Portuguese was defeated by the British. So like this, these were the causes for decline of Portuguese power in India. Next, coming to the point of the importance of Portuguese in India. Portuguese, they introduced printing press in India. Printing press was discovered by John Gutenberg in 1453. Same year, Ottoman Turkish Sultan captured Constantinople. Printing press also invented in the same year, John Gutenberg. The first book printed in the printing mission was a Bible. First press in India established at Goa in 1557. First printing press established at Goa by the Portuguese. And also Portuguese, they introduced new crops in India, tobacco, mirchi, coffee. All these were introduced to the Indians by the Portuguese. But finally, Portuguese, they did not leave India. Even India got independence in 1947, August 15th. But Portuguese continued. Finally, we conducted Operation Vizai to eliminate Portuguese power from the Goa, Dayu, Daman, these areas. Operation Vizai. So Portuguese left in India in 1961. For the cause of the Operation Vizay, Portuguese, they lodged a complaint against India in the United Security Council, United Nations Security Council. By the interference of Russia, USSR, it became null and void. This is about the Portuguese. After the Portuguese, next Dutch East India Company came to India. Dutch were the second Europeans, they came to India. Dutch is the name of the people, that is a race of the people. They belongs to Holland in the Netherlands government, under the Netherlands government. Dutch East India Company was established as United East India Company. The name of the Dutch East India Company established as United East India Company. This was also called as Verenigde Oostindische Company, VOC. VOC. This is symbol of the company. VOC became world first formally listed public company. It was the first public company established in 1602. But even in the year 1600, British East India Company was established, but British East India Company was private company, not public company. Whereas Dutch East India Company, it is a public sector company. First public sector multinational company in the world is VOC, that is Dutch East India Company. First private sector multinational company in the world is British East India Company. And first multinational company in the world also, British East India Company. So Dutch East India Company established in 1602. Permission was given by the Netherlands government. Dutch East India Company, they established first trade center in 1605 at Machilipatnam. First trade center at Machilipatnam. Later they established Karaikal, Nagapatnam, Pulicat. 1610 they established a trade center at Pulicat. Pulicat became headquarters of the Dutch East India Company. It continued from 1610 to 1689. Pulicat was headquarters of the Dutch East India Company. They founded a factory with the permission was given by the, that is 1605, already I said to you, Machilipatnam. Permission was given by the Golconda ruler of that period, Sultan Muhammad. 1609 factory established at Pulicat, that is 1609, 1610. 1610 to 1689, Dutch East India Company headquarters was there at Pulicat. Latter period, they shifted headquarters from Pulicat to Nagapatnam in 1589. Some books they gave 1590. Nagapatnam was headquarters of the Dutch East India Company. And their principal factories in India, they established principal factories in India. Surat in 1616, Bhibilipatnam in 1641, Karaikal in 1645, Chinsura in 1653, Karaikal in Tamil Nadu, Bhimulipatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Surat in Gujarat, Chinsura in Bengal, Baranagar in Bengal, Kasim Bazar in the Bengal, Balasur in Bihar, Patna in the Bihar, Nagapatnam in Tamil Nadu, Cochin in Kerala. All these trade centers were established by the Dutch East India Company. This is a map of the Dutch East India Company. They also established trade centers, Macau, Malacca, Ambayana, Jakarta. Dutch East India Company, they concentrated more on Indonesia than India. Dutch East India Company main trade centers are there at Eastern India than the Western India. Dutch East India Company, they carried indigo manufactured in the Yamuna Valley and Central India. They also carried textile silk from Bengal, Gujarat, Coromandel region, saltpeter from the Bihar, opium from the Ganga Valley, opium and rice from the Ganga Valley. These were main trade export of the Dutch East India Company from India. Their main trade in India was indigo, textile, cotton textile, saltpeter, raw silk, opium. These are the main exports from India to the European countries by the Dutch East India Company. Dutch East India Company, it was the first East India Company to issue stocks in India. Dutch East India Company, it made Indian cloth as an international trade. The craze of the Indian cloth went to the international trade. That goes to the Dutch East India Company. By the 17th century, before the prominence of British, they emerged as a most dominant power in European trade in the East before the coming of the British. Main center of Dutch in India was Pulicat. Later they shifted to the Nagapattinam. Indonesian islands, Java, Sumatra, and these two Spice Islands, these were concentrated by the Dutch East India Company. Spices were produced. The main interest of the Dutch East India was production of the spices. Production of the spices. Dutch, they also stuck the coins in India. They followed the stacking of the coins in India in the local rulers, and they established their minting centers in the different places like Cochin, Machilipatnam, Nagapatnam, Pondicherry, Pulicat. These areas, they established minting centers to stock the coins. Even more, gold pagoda with an image of Lord Venkateswara was issued from the Pulicat by the Dutch East India Company. Because Dutch coins issued by the models of the local coinage, they followed the local rulers like Vijayanagara kings, Aravidu kings, like that. And coming to the point of the decline of Dutch in India, Dutch East India Company, they maintained rivalry with the British East India Company. There occurred rivalry among the British and the Dutch. This rivalry started from 1623 onwards. In the year 1623, there occurred Ambayana massacre. Ambayana was a place which was there in the Indonesia, Ambayana. It was a place of the Dutch East India Company, and British East India Company also established the trade center at Ambayana. In 1623, Dutch East India Company killed 10 British men at Ambayana. This was called as Ambayana massacre. 10 English men were massacred by the Dutch in 1623 at Ambayana. So then British, they concentrated their trade center towards Calcutta and they left Indonesia. Indonesian trade was monopolized by the Dutch East India Company. But slowly the British East India Company started their power. British East India Company by 1756 to 1763, they even defeated French in the India. During this period, 1759, there occurred war between the British and Dutch. That is called as the Battle of Badera. 1759, Battle of Badera occurred between the British and Dutch. This Battle of Badera, Dutch was completely defeated by the British. By 1795, all the Dutch East India Company settlements were sold out to the British, from their possession in India. Dutch left India in 1795. Like this ended the Dutch East India Company. Next, coming to the point of the British East India Company. British East India Company established in 1600, December 31st. Permission was given by the Queen Elizabeth, Queen of the time of the England. The name of the British East India Company was Governor and Company of Merchants of London, trading into the East Indies. East India Company means the company which is continuing trading into the eastern countries. So this company rose to the account for half of the world's trade. The complete world's trade, 50% of the world trade was occupied by the British East India Company in the basic commodities including cotton, silk, indigo, salt, dye, spices, saltpeter, tea, opium. In all these basic commodities, 50% of the trade was monopolized by the British East India Company in the world trade. So this is the house of the British East India Company in the London. This is the house of the British East India Company in the London. And it was established with the 24 directors, that is called as committees. These 24 directors, they did not allow any other people to enter into the trade. That is what called as a monopoly trade. Monopoly trade of the British East India Company. So British East India Company, first they said Red Dragon in 1601. That was the first voyage. This Red Dragon, it reached to the Malacca Straits, and factories were established at two places. One is Bantam and Java. Another one is Moluccas Spicy Islands. These two were the first trade centers of the British East India Company in the eastern side. Remember that that was not in India. It was there in the Indonesia. And this was the company flag, British East India Company flag. Next, 1604, Henry Middleton. Second voyage of the eastern side with the Red Dragon. 1607 to 1610, this period, he came to India along with Hector under the Captain William Hawkins. Captain William Hawkins, he also came to the India along with Middleton, David Middleton, Captain David Middleton. The English were the second Europeans. They came to India and they established trade center in 1611, trade center established at Machilipatnam. After the arrival of this English ship called Globe, under the leadership of Hippan, the Globe reached to the Machilipatnam and they took permission from the Golconda Sultan, Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah. Golconda Sultan Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah gave permission to the British East India Company to establish trade center at Machilipatnam. In 1611, they established trade center at Machilipatnam. Yes, coming to the point of the English East India Company emblem. This is the emblem of the English East India Company. After this British East India Company, they established trade center at Pulicat. Pulicat in 1621. Permission was given by the Raja of Chandragiri. Chandragiri Raja was given permission in 1621. With the permission of the Chandragiri Raja, British East India Company established trade center at Pulicat. After that, they established trade center at Armugam in 1626 near Nellore. It is there near Nellore, near Pulicat. But Armugam was not a suitable center for the continuing trade and commerce by the British East India Company. That's why they searched for the another place. It was at this moment they established trade center at Madras. Yes, we will discuss Madras after few minutes. Coming to the point of the British settlements in India, Surat was the first trade center in 1609. Later period, Machilipatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Hariharpur in Odisha, Balasore in Odisha, Pipili in West Bengal, Hooghly in the West Bengal, Patna in Odisha, Kasim Bazar in Bengal, Rajmahal in Jharkhand. All these were the trade settlements of the British East India Company. How they established their trade settlements in the India. Coming to this point, Captain Hawkins, he came to India in 1609, who was sent by James I. He was a British emperor. British Emperor James I sent Hawkins to the court of the Jahangir. Hawkins, he was defeated by the Portuguese. He established a trade center at Surat, but he was defeated and captured by the Portuguese. Finally, he escaped in the hands of the Portuguese. He went to the Agra. And seek the help of the Jahangir. Jahangir did not give help to the Hawkins against Portuguese, because Portuguese influence was there in the Mughal court. Hawkins called as English Khan by the Jahangir. Jahangir called Hawkins as English Khan. Khan means leader. After this, even though 1609 first trade center of the British East India Company at Surat, but that was a temporary trade center. Later period, 1613, in the year 1613, Thomas Roe, he came to India. By this time, British East India Company defeated Portuguese. Then Jahangir gave permission to the British East India Company to establish a permanent trade center at Surat. So British East India Company, they established permanent trade center at Surat. Later period, British East India Company concentrated to establish presidencies. So there were 3 presidencies in India: Madras, Bombay, Calcutta. These 3 were called as 3 presidencies of India. Coming to the point of one by one, how they established. Madras, it was originally called as Channapatnam. Channapatnam, which was established by the Damerla Channappa established Channapatnam. It was established for the purpose of the weavers. Nearly 2,000 weavers were working at Channapatnam. It looks like a colony. Which was established by the Damerla Channappa. So beside that, I already told to you, Armugam was a not very good center for the trade and commerce. British, they searched for the trade and commerce, and finally they went to the Madras. Here, coming to the point of the Madras, this was originally Channapatnam, and this is Madras. This area, the area beside Channapatnam, this area was purchased by the British from the Damerla brothers. Damella brothers. He was Venkatadri and Ayyappa. Damella brothers, Venkatadri and Ayyappa, these two sold out this area to the Francis Day. Francis Day, who was a British East India Company trader head, he purchased that area and he got permission from the Raja of Chandragiri. By that time, Raja of Chandragiri was Venkatapati Raya. Venkatapati Raya, Venkatapati Raya III, he gave permission to the British to establish trade center at Madras. And also they got permission for the fortification of the Madras. They built St. George Fort at Madras. St. George Fort at Madras, which was constructed by the Francis Day. The township was soon grown around it came to be known as Chennapatnam. Later it was Madrasapatnam. Madras soon replaced the Machilipatnam. Until the establishment of the Madras, Machilipatnam was headquarters. That Machilipatnam replaced Madras in the Coromandel coast. In 1658, English settlements on the Coromandel coast, that is Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, all these came under the control of the Madras St. George Fort. After the construction of the St. George Fort, they appointed a governor for the fort. They would appoint a governor for the fort for the administrative point of view. It was continued as a headquarters of the Eastern India, even for the Bengal, until 1700. After the construction of the Fort William at Bengal by 1700, Madras was separate, Calcutta was separate. So Madras was constructed by the Francis Day. In 1641, British declared Madras as the headquarters of the British. In 1640, they constructed St. George Fort at Madras. In 1684, Madras became the first presidency of British. The first presidency of the British in India was Madras. And Madras became the first municipality by 1688. 1688, Madras became first municipality in India. So like that, the fortification of Madras has been completed, and Madras became first presidency of India, first presidency of British in India. After the Madras, coming to the point of the Calcutta. British East India, Calcutta is situated in the Bengal. British East India Company, they also concentrated at Calcutta. By this time, Job Charnock, he purchased Suttanati, Kalikata, Govindapur in 1698 from the Jamindari of these villages. Originally, he purchased all these from the Mughal governor of that period, Shaista Khan. Mughal governor Shaista Khan gave permission and they purchased all these three. Job Charnock, he established a factory at Suttanati. Later period, Suttanati was fortified and they combinedly, these Suttanati, Kalikata, Govindapur was combinedly constructed as Calcutta. These combinedly constructed as Calcutta. It was a president, it was another presidency. By 1700, they constructed Fort William at Calcutta. Charles Eyre was the first president of the Fort William after the construction. All the settlements in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, all these were placed under the Calcutta Fort William, under the Calcutta Fort William. This governor was called as Calcutta Fort William governor. Calcutta Fort William governor. So Calcutta became another important center. And during this period, Farrukhsiyar was a ruler of the Mughal emperor. During the Farrukhsiyar period, the diplomatic mission, it reached to the court of the Farrukhsiyar, and this mission was led by Von Surman. Von Surman. Along with him, Dr. William Hamilton, he was a member of that Surman Commission, and this doctor, he cured the disease of Farrukhsiyar. Farrukhsiyar, he cured disease from the Dr. William Hamilton. That's why this Farrukhsiyar, he gave a golden farmana to the British in 1717. That was 1717, gave Dastak rights to the British. Dastak rights. That was monopoly trade rights were given to the British East India Company just for the cost of the giving 3,000 rupees from the Bengal, overall 10,000 rupees from the Bengal, Bihar, Orissa and Gujarat areas per annum. British East India Company should pay 10,000 rupees per annum for all these Bengal, Bihar, Orissa and Gujarat areas trade and commerce. So like that, Calcutta became another center for the British East India Company. Second presidency. After that, coming to the point of the Bombay. Originally, 1613, Surat became headquarters of the British East India Company at Western coastal area. In the Western coastal area, Surat was the headquarters of the British East India Company. It was at this moment when British ruler came to the matrimonial alliances with the Portuguese. Matrimonial alliances occurred between the Portuguese and the British. Portuguese ruler, he gave Princess Charles Braganza to the Prince Charles II of the England. Catherine Braganza was given to the Prince Charles of the England, and he transferred Bombay as a dowry to the British East India Company. Understand this, where is Bombay, where is Portuguese, where is British? British got Bombay as a dowry. It was a small island, Portuguese island, was given to the British East India Company as a dowry by giving Catherine Braganza to the Charles II. Latter period, East India Company that took as a lease for the 10 pounds, just 10 pounds for the British government. British East India Company took for the lease. Meanwhile, in 1664, George Oxenden, company officer of the Surat, he wanted to made Bombay as a headquarters of the Western India, because by this time, from 1660 to 1670, several times Surat was looted by the Shivaji. 1664, Shivaji looted Surat. 1670, Shivaji looted Surat. Like that, they wanted to escape from the looting of Maratha kingdoms, Maratha rights. They selected Bombay as a headquarters in the Western Ghat. So they developed Bombay. In 1667, they moved the headquarters British East India Company from Surat to Bombay. 1669, Oxenden died. Gerald Angier, he became governor of Bombay. Angier turned a small island town of the Bombay into the promising hub of the commerce. Bombay became headquarters of the British East India Company. Later, Bombay became presidency of the British. The company minted coin at Bombay. They established a minting center at Bombay that circulated throughout the Mughal Empire. But during this period, 1700, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb ordered to arrest all the Englishmen in India. But finally, with the treaty, they escaped from the arrest. Bombay was fortified by 1720. Bombay was fortified by 1720 by Charles Boone. Charles Boone fortified. So by this ended the establishment of the three presidencies: Madras, Calcutta, Bombay. These three became presidencies of the British East India Company and appointed three different governors. So coming to the point of these, some revisions of the British East India Company. 1600, British East India Company established. Governor and deputy governor, 24 members of the governors are there in the British East India Company. The company was strictly closed to the monopoly trade, that was except the member. No non-member allowed to the trade with Eastern countries. That was the monopoly trade. Many English merchants continued trade in the Asia in spite of the monopoly of British company. They called themselves as free merchants, while the company called them as interlopers. The interlopers in the end compelled the company to take into the partnership. Some changes occurred in the Britain. 1688, there occurred bloodless revolution in the England. The supreme power of the Stuart dynasty, Charles James II, ended, and William II became the king of the Britain. During the time of the William II period, Parliament became supreme. Emperor of the Britain was in the puppet in the hands of the Parliament. So in this regard, the rivals of British East India Company, they also founded another company. But both new company and old company, they troubled and they ruined. Latter period, finally in 1702, these two were merged. But in the company, there were three types of the workers: writers, factors, merchants. Three ranks were given in the company. So like this British East India Company, they continued in India as a trading company. Finally, it successfully defeated all the European companies. It established a great, mighty British Empire in India. That is what called as sun never set in the colonial empire of the British. Yes, after the British, Danes came to India. The Danes came to India from the Denmark. Danes East India Company was not that much of very important, because Danes, they did not concentrate more on India. They founded very few centers at India. Tamil Nadu, Travancore was Tamil Nadu. Serampore in the Bengal. Serampore was the headquarters of the Danes. And they were more concerned with the missionary activities than the trade. They started more missionary activities than the trade. They established their factories up to Machilipatnam, Fort Nova, all these areas. By 1845, Danes East India Company, they left India. They sold out to all their trade centers to the British, and they left India. After the Danes, next French East India Company. French were the last Europeans came to India. French East India Company was established by the in 1664. French East India Company was established by the Colbert, who was the finance minister of that period. He was finance minister of the France. Colbert established this company. And in 1668, first time France East India Company, they established trade center at Surat. First trade center of French East India Company at Surat in 1668. Later, they established Marakka factory at Machilipatnam. This permission was given by the Golconda rulers. And French East India Company trader Francis Martin, he purchased Vadikondapuram, a small village purchased from the Sher Khan Lodi. It was a small village in 1673, purchased by the Francis Martin. And this village developed into as a Pondicherry. This village developed as a Pondicherry. In the Pondicherry, French fortified in the Pondicherry. French, they were fortified. And they appointed a governor to Pondicherry. The first governor was Francis Martin. And also later they acquired Chandranagore in Bengal from the Mughal governor Shaista Khan in 1690, Chandranagore and other areas. Pondicherry was headquarters of the French East India Company in India. French East India Company. Like that, French East India Company, British East India Company, both were established trade center in the neighborhood. Madras and Pondicherry, these two were very close. Madras and Pondicherry, these two were very close. French, they immediately interfere in the internal affairs of the Indian politics. Finally, from 1744 to 1760, there occurred Anglo-French rivalry in India. With the Battle of Vandivash, French washed out from India. French lost all their possessions. Finally, French, they have only 3 areas: Yanam, Karaikal, and Mahe. These 3 were under the control of the Pondicherry government. Yanam in Andhra Pradesh, Karaikal in Tamil Nadu, Mahe in Kerala. Even they are under the control of the Pondicherry Union Territory at present also. So like that, British East India Company defeated French. Finally, British East India Company, it continued establishment of the different and annexation of the different Indian kingdoms, different wars with the Indian rulers. They defeated both European countries and also Indian rulers. Finally, British emerged as a great power. Yeah, this is about the arrival of or advent of the Europeans to India. Okay, good luck.